The idea for this shiur came up when I heard an audio recording of one of the Rabbanim, I think in the New York area, and he mentioned that all the shuls in his area were going to close down because of the coronavirus. And he mentioned that it was his grandson's bar mitzvah, and that would have to be canceled as well. And so the shaila occurred that what would happen in this situation if you have a situation where a bar mitzvah bacher prepared an entire parsha to lein, and then the shul was canceled because of some event like this event. And now you're going to go a few weeks, and then when normal life resumes and when shul starts up again, are we going to make up those parshiyos? If we make up those parshiyos which we skipped, then the bar mitzvah boy can, of course, can still read his parsha, and he'll read it along with all the other parshiyos that are missed. So I thought I would present here a short halacha shiur. Obviously, any practical questions should be referred to the local authority, but we will just see some of the sources. Just before I start, I'll mention a short story I once heard. I heard a story from Rav Shlomo Zalman. There was once a situation where there was a bacher who had a difficult time preparing for the leining, and so he was only going to do the ha-Torah, and even doing the ha-Torah, it took him a long time to learn the ha-Torah. It took him like a year just to learn this ha-Torah. And as they're getting closer to the Shabbos, the bar mitzvah boy's teacher, this is in Yerushalayim, he realized that he had made a terrible mistake because the bar mitzvah fell out on one of the special 4 parshiyos, I believe was the story, and he had taught him the wrong ha-Torah. He taught him the ha-Torah of the regular parsha of the week, not the special ha-Torah that was going to be leined. So he took the shaila to Rav Shlomo Zalman, and Rav Shlomo Zalman, when he heard the shaila, he deliberated, and he decided that because of the sensitivity we should have to the bar mitzvah bacher who's worked so hard to prepare this ha-Torah, there's no way he's going to be able to prepare a different one. He wouldn't be able to learn it that quickly. So they should just lein the ha-Torah that the boy prepared, and they should not lein the ha-Torah, the special ha-Torah for that Shabbos. That was his psak. So the teacher was happy about the psak, but he still said to Rav Shlomo Zalman, this is a Haredi shul in Yerushalayim. We're going to start the wrong ha-Torah. What's going to happen? Everyone's going to start protesting. It's going to be an embarrassment for the boy, for the family. They're not going to accept that we're doing the wrong ha-Torah. So Rav Shlomo Zalman said, just tell them that the psak is from me. If you say the psak in my name, they will accept it. And the teacher was still skeptical, and he was still nervous. When the day finally arrived, so the davening is starting, and the bar mitzvah rebbe is very worried about what's going to happen when the ha-Torah comes, and he starts the wrong ha-Torah. And in the back doors of the shul walks Rav Shlomo Zalman, and he lived very far away. He lived something like 45 minutes away from where this was taking place. But he had walked over to the shul because he also realized that if he's in the shul and if he's listening to the same ha-Torah the boy is leining, this will be much more accepted. So it's a beautiful story, kind of along the same lines of situations which might occur here with all these shuls closing down. So we're going to just learn a few sources. There's obviously many more sources. Not going to go through everything, but just to give a basic outline of what the issues are. The Ramah is in Siman Kuf Lamed Hey in Sif Beis. He says, "In bitlu Shabbos achas kriyas ha-parsha de-tzibura." Let's say there's one Shabbos where they don't read de-tzibura, the parsha ha-shavua. La Shabbos haba kornos ha-parsha and parsha ha-shaycha los ha-Shabbos. The next week they should make up the parsha. They should read that week's parsha, but also read the parsha that they missed. They should put them together one after the other. He says, look later on, you can see what it is when we add on aliyas, the various halachas. So that is the psak of the Ramah. And the truth of the matter is, maybe not a unanimous psak, but the truth is that we do follow this. For example, it comes up a lot of times you'll have b'nei chutz la'aretz who are in Eretz Yisrael, and they miss a parsha. They basically fall behind because it's a 2-day yontiv, and they don't lein the parsha shavua that the Israelis are leining. And they actually do this. They'll make a minyan in order to kind of make up the Shabbos. It can go in different directions, but that's the psak of the Ramah over here. Now, if you take a look at now that's all very good if you miss one Shabbos. If the tzibur misses one Shabbos, the psak of the Ramah seems to be that you can, in fact, make up the leining, and you should make up the leining in the next Shabbos. Now, if you take a look at the commentaries, we'll take a look at the Be'er Hetev. He says like this: Avolim hayu beis mechuborin ba'oso Shabbos. So he's talking about a case. Let's say the Shabbos that they missed was a double parsha. Shebitlu. The one that they missed was a double parsha. It was Tazria Mitzora, it was Achrei Mos Kedoshim, something like that. Ein Kor Mishabbos Haba Gimel. You don't read 3 parshiyos in one Shabbos. Delo Matzinu Le'olam Shekorin Gimel. We never find a situation where you read 3 parshiyos. So that's a limitation. And then he says, Vein Lomer Yikru Beis L'chol HaPachos. Don't read, maybe you'll say, okay, so we'll read one of the 2 that we missed. De'ein Takona L'chatzoin. He says you can't fix it halfway. If you're not going to fix it all the way, don't fix it halfway. V'yembidlu parshas Vayechi ein likrosim parsha Shemos. He also says, let's say, for example, you missed the parsha that's at the end of a sefer, like parshas Vayechi, which is at the end of Sefer Bereshis. He says you shouldn't read it together with parsha Shemos. The tzarach likros chad gavrim yisof siddur rishon l'tchila siddur shni. Because what do you need to do then? You're going to need it. But the way you combine parshiyos is you take an aliyah and you make it the end of Vayechi and the beginning of Shemos. You make that one aliyah. So in this case, you're going to have to combine an aliyah. There's going to be one aliyah from both Vayechi and Shemos. Kedei shiur mechubar, and that's how you attach the 2 parshas together. V'zeh ein nachon lasos b'shnei svarim. That's not proper to do in 2 svarim. Ram Mintz Simin Pehei. So 2 limitations that the Ber Heitev says. He says, number 1, again, you shouldn't read 2 parshiyos, fine, but you shouldn't read more than 2 parshiyos. We never find reading 3 parshiyos. And also, if there's ever a situation where it's going to mean combining parshiyos across Sfarim, you don't do that as well. So if that's the situation, if you have over here a situation where we're going to have Shabbos davenings canceled de-tzibura for many weeks straight, it could very, very well be that you don't have this halacha that the bar mitzvah boy really has any reason or should even be reading his parsha. If it was more than 1 week ago, more than 1 week was missed. However, we're going to see here, let's see, halacha l'maisa, there are some other opinions over here. So first of all, taking a look at the Mishnah Brura. So the Mishnah Brura says, first of all, he says, Shabbos achas, if you miss 1 Shabbos. And he says, V'yimbidlu kama Shabboses, what if you miss many Shabboses? So not a double parsha, but you miss multiple Shabboses. Yeshomrim dein likros b'Shabbos haba kim hasidra ha'achrona hasmucha lazu. Some people say you should only read the last one that you missed. V'yeshomrim tzarach lahashlam b'tzibur kol hasidras shebitlu. And some people say you need to finish all of the various parshiyos that you missed. Umibir hagra mashma desir like kahadea rishona. He says from the gra it's implied that you only do, like the first opinion, you only make up the last parsha. So again, that's really our case over here. You're going to be missing multiple Shabbosos, and the Mishnah Brura says that's a machlokas. We're going to see what the issue is in a minute. But he says that's a machlokas, and he says from the bir hagra it's mashma that you only make up the last Shabbos you missed, not previous ones. And then when it comes over here to the issue that we quoted from the Ber Heitev, he says, Vim hayu shtei parshiyos mechubaron b'osa Shabbos shebitlu das haram mints. That's the same ram mints that we quoted before. Ram mints dein mashlimin osam klal delo matzino liolam shakorin gimel sidros b'Shabbos achas. You never read 3 at once. V'likros parsha achas me'anami lo amrin dein takon l'chatzoin v'uadin and b'Shabbos zu hayu shtei parshiyos mechubaros nami. The Mishnah Brura says this issue of the maram mints is also going to be true in a situation where this week's parsha is a double parsha, because it's going to make you're going to have to do 3 parshas, which we don't do according to the maram mints. Ein mashlimin parsha mishabbos shavar mitamanal. So it's going to be the same reason. But he says uvagos minhagim cholik alze. He says al kolze. He says the hagos minhagim argues on this. V'chein beli rabba deliolam tzarach la'ashin masha bitlu mishabbos ha'avar. Eli Rabba also says you always need to make up that which you missed from the previous Shabbos. V'chein no the das sefer Magen Giborim. That's also the opinion of Magen Giborim. Doesn't take sides. Yeshomrim dim bitlu parshas Vayechi ein likroso in parsha Shemos. Then he quotes this other halacha that we had, that if you miss Vayechi, you shouldn't do Shemos with Vayechi. Ki keshakorin beis sidro sarach lekroso chad gavrim yisof sidr rishon l'tchil sidr shniya. Same reason. Kedei shiur mechubaron v'zeh ein nachon lasoso b'shnei svarim v'uadin b'pekudei vayikra v'chadom. And he says v'yesh cholk. And some argue on this as well. Usvirlu, they hold deliolam mashlima, that you always make up what you missed. V'chasa b'shulchan atzei shittim danoi kein ein mochen biyado. It says in the Shulchan Atzei Shittim that one who does this, we don't protest against him. So what exactly is the? So you see here, even in the Mishnah Brura, he's bringing it as a machlokas haposkim what we do. Now, what is this issue from the Bir Hagra? What does the Mishnah Brura mean that from the Bir Hagra it's mashma that you only make up the previous Shabbos? So I believe that what he means is, if you look at the Bir Hagra on this Ramah, this is the Bir Hagra. He says in Bitlu, Kimasha Kosav Bitfilo Tav Velo Espal V'chulu. He says very little, but what he says is, why are we making up the parsha? He says it's the same as we find by davening. By davening, if you make a mistake and you don't daven, then you make it up in the next tefillah. Now that's only true in the immediate next tefillah. If you miss shacharis, for example, you can daven 2 shmona esrei at mincha. We call that tashlumin. But if you miss shacharis, you cannot daven at Ma'ariv, let's say you miss shacharis and mincha, you don't go back two. You don't daven 3 Shmona Esreis, 1 for mincha, 1 for shacharis, and then daven the Ma'ariv. You don't do that. You only go back, you only make up the previous one. So what it seems the Mishnah Berurah is saying is that according to the Gra, the reason why we do this, the reason why we make up parshiyos that we missed, is the same reason we do tashlumin when we make up davening. It would only apply to the last thing that was missed. You wouldn't go back more than one Shabbos, more than one leining. That's why the Mishnah Berurah says that according to the Gra, it's mashma in this fashion. But I want to show you what the HaRav Shlomo says in this regard. This is the HaRav Shlomo also in Siman Kuf Lamed Hey, in Sivav, in the HaRav Shlomo. He quotes this. He says it like this: Kasav Rabbeinu Harama b'Sif Beis Dimbidlu Shabbos Achas Kriyas ha-parsha de-tzibura l'Shabbos haba Kornos ha-parsha ha-parsha shaychelos ha-Shabbos Adkan Lashona. Quotes the Rama. V'hu adinim hinichu be'emtza Korn l'Shabbos haba mimakom sheinichu im hasidur shaychelos ha-Shabbos. He says the same thing would be true. Let's say you laid half the parsha, so you missed the second half. You would also do it the next week. V'yesh misha omer dimbos Shabbos shabitlu hayu shnei staros. Now he quotes sidros. He quotes, let's say you had a double parsha mechubarim that were attached. Dein korno some l'Shabbos haba. You don't do it. Mishum delom matzino sheyikra shalosh sidros b'vasachas u'lefi zehu adin dim b'Shabbos haba yesh shnei sidros degam kein ein koren. So he quotes this idea that if it's a double parsha, you don't ever do 3 parshiyos in one Shabbos. And he says udvarev temuim. He says that is a shock. Because if there's an obligation to make up what you missed, mali trei mali tlos, who cares if you're making up 2 parshiyos or 3? Even if there were many Shabbos you missed, you should have to make them all up. He says, I found that certain poskim say this. There are those that say that if you were mevatel one of the parshas at the end of a sefer, lo yikrua b'Shabbos haba, you shouldn't read it in the coming Shabbos, im hasidra shel sefer hasheni, with the next parsha, which is in the next sefer. Because you're going to have to combine the two parshiyos, and you're not allowed to combine an aliyah from across 2 svarim. And he says the same thing with Tzimo. It's a shak. First of all, he says, is it true that there's an obligation that you have to have one aliyah that combines both parshiyos? He says, who says? And plus, let's say you do an aliyah that spans 2 svarim. What isser is that? He says that it would seem to be that in all situations you need to make it up in the coming Shabbos. He says, he says that for sure, or it seems to him, that you should only make it up on Shabbos. Don't try to make it up on a weekday. Okay, and then he goes on. So the HaRav Shlomo is saying, and I believe the HaRav Shlomo means as follows. The HaRav Shlomo does not hold like the Gra. The HaRav Shlomo does not hold that we make it up because just like by tefillah, we make up the last one we missed, so too by leining, we have an idea of tashlumin to make up the last one we missed. The HaRav Shlomo probably holds that the reason we're making up the leining is because there's a minhag to go through the entire cycle of the Torah each year, and therefore we're trying to finish the cycle. So if you missed a bunch of parshiyos, doesn't matter how many, you should make them up. He probably, going along the lines of what the Rambam says over here, ha-minhag, this is the Rambam in Hilchas Tefillah, Perek Yud Gimel Halacha Aleph, says ha-minhag ha-pashat b'chol Yisrael shemashlimin es ha-Torah b'shana achas. The minhag in Klal Yisrael, the simple minhag is that's spread throughout Klal Yisrael, is to finish the entire Torah in 1 year. Maschilin b'Shabbos shachar chag ha-Sukkos v'kor meseder b'reishis b'shniya eila toldos b'shlishis vayomer Hashem el Avram v'korin v'holchen al ha-seder hazat shegomer es ha-Torah b'chag ha-Sukkos. We go through the whole cycle like we do in 1 year. He says there are those who complete the Torah, the entire cycle of the parshiyos of the Torah in 3 years. Ve'eno minhag pasha, that is not the prevalent custom. So what seems to be going on is as follows. According to the Mishnah Berurah's understanding of the Gra, of the Vilna Gaon, the reason why we make up parshiyos that we missed is similar to when we do tashlumin, when we miss a davening, and therefore you just go back to the last Shabbat. And maybe there are other restrictions also, not more than 2 parshiyos. Don't do it if it spans 2 svarim. Those would be the restrictions. But the HaRav Shlomo seems to hold that since there's a minhag to read the entire Chumash over the course of a year, therefore it doesn't matter how many weeks have gone by, you should make them all up on the Shabbos, that when you resume davening, you should make those up. And of course, when the HaRav Shlomo paskin this, the Aruch HaShulchan is paskening this like a chumrah. It's a chumrah that we should make up all of these parshiyos. And maybe in some situations people would say we should be lenient, but in the situation of a bar mitzvah bacher who has been preparing for an entire year to lein, I don't know if we would consider that a chumrah to make up the parshiyos that were missed. That would be something that the bar mitzvah bacher, the people in the shul, would certainly want to make up those parshiyos and to follow the Aruch HaShulchan, I would think, in order to allow the bar mitzvah bacher to lein his parsha, which he prepared for so long. So I thought that would be an interesting idea to share. And again, by no means have I gotten through all of the sources on this. There's certainly more, but just a basic overview of a halacha that's probably going to be quite relevant to us in the coming weeks.